Hi, Cristina Mendonsa here for CEOs You Should Know. Today my guest is Mike Testa from Visit Sacramento. So we're going to spend a few minutes getting to know him. Hi, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
To promote a city like you do and be in charge of a big agency that promotes the city, you have to really love it. So when did your love affair with Sacramento start?
So I grew up in Davis, and I was there till I was 15 years old, and my father worked for PG&E, and we moved to the Bay Area, the East Bay. So I spent another 3 years in high school there, graduated, went to college at St. Mary's in the Bay Area, and then got a job in San Francisco working for a natural gas pipeline. It was not what my dream job was as a 22-year-old, writing about natural gas and how much could fit through a pipeline and things like that. So ultimately, the company I worked for relocated to Portland, and I started looking at different options, and one of them was a PR firm in Sacramento. I wanted to get in communications. And the challenge was there was no way I was moving back to Sacramento. You know, I'd come from here, I was in the Bay Area, I liked it there. But I got a contract offer, I took it for 6 months and commuted back and forth, and then it turned into a full-time job with a local political consultant. So I begrudgingly moved here, and then, just kind of worked my way through different jobs. I worked for the Downtown Partnership for a while, and now obviously with Visit Sacramento. But what I always like about that story is I was so resistant to come to this market, and now I'm the biggest evangelist for what's happening here. And that's good, because I couldn't do this job if I didn't genuinely think this market was cool. And it took that process and me really getting to know what was going on here to buy into it. So there was a different quality of life that I felt here as a young person. There was no way I was going to be able to afford to buy a house in the Bay Area. I was making $29,000 a year. And it became possible in Sacramento. And so very quickly my perception changed that this place isn't as bad as I thought, because again, I returned as an adult with that thought process of what do I want to be in my life. So it didn't take long to buy in, and then I've just had a front row seat to a lot of the growth, so that's helped as well.
You've had a front row seat to changes in Sacramento. So tell me, just in the last couple of years, how has the city changed?
It's interesting. I think the biggest critics of Sacramento are the people who have been born and raised here and haven't been anywhere else. When you have something to compare it to, you see how special it is. But I'll hear, there's nothing to do here, it's boring. And almost always those are the folks that have been here their whole lives. When you get people coming in from the Bay Area, again, it's a different level of quality of life, and I think that's what's drawing people here. The Bay Area is great. San Francisco is a world-class city and a bucket list city for a lot of people, but it comes with its challenges. It's extremely expensive. It's hard to raise a family there depending on where you live. And again, I think people just saw the opportunity here was a little bit different. You can have a different way of life that's still sophisticated, that's still fun. And as our amenities have grown over the last 15 years, I think it's met the demands of some of the people coming from different parts of the country that had things that we didn't.
Right.
You look at our food scene. We attracted a Michelin guide to Sacramento. Prior to us, there were 4 cities in the U.S. that had a Michelin guide. New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, San Francisco. The 5th city added was Sacramento.
Really? Sacramento? I didn't know that. Number 5 to get a Michelin guide? I had no idea.
I think, part of the challenge for Sacramento is that we're in California. My friend runs Visit Indy in Indianapolis. And, if you're a big event, the only game in Indiana is Indianapolis.
Yes.
In California, you've got San Francisco, LA, San Diego, Napa. Sacramento's not the first city you think of when you say the word California. So, we've had to do things a little bit differently and create noise that others haven't, and that's what Farm to Fork has been. Showing ourselves as not a government town. And you look at Nashville or Santa Fe or Austin, they're state capitals, but you don't think of them that way because they've created an identity outside of that. That's what Farm to Fork was designed to do.
And it really has happened for Sacramento. I mean, I grew up here. My father worked at the Capitol downtown, and I knew at 5 o'clock when he got off work and came home, there was nothing going on downtown. The whole town just shut down. But now there's stuff happening. And before pandemic, it was off the charts with the restaurants and things to do. And now, even after the pandemic, you are starting to see restaurants come back, and even new restaurants take a chance on Sacramento.
Yeah, and I think that's been encouraging for us too. Just like you said, pre-pandemic, we were on this precipice of greatness. There were so many really cool things about to happen, and then, unfortunately, the shutdown came. But I think things like Michelin and Farm to Fork have attracted new restaurateurs. Again, you talk about people moving here, look at businesses moving here. If I'm a restaurant owner in San Francisco, paying those rents, paying those wages, and I can come to Sacramento and get the same food that they're sourcing in the Bay Area at a different level of cost, it's appealing. So we've seen a lot of chefs relocate here as well because of that, and you're seeing that in the restaurants opening.
Let's talk about getting our convention business back. Now, I've heard you say, and I've heard you interviewed, and you've said we needed rules for conventions during pandemic a lot sooner than we got them. So how is that working out now? Are conventions coming back?
Well, I mean, we do have guidelines now, which is certainly helpful because when you have a meeting planner coming from, let's just say, the East Coast, they want to know that their delegates are going to be kept safe, that we have measures in place. Because when they organize these conventions, it matters how many people come. You know, they need, let's just say, 2,000 people to make sure it pencils for them. I think the challenge has been, and it's very similar to what we saw after 9/11, the company that used to send 4 delegates to the convention is now sending 1 or 2. You know, they're trying to, you know, cut their own costs. But there's also a safety factor. You know, if you're flying from a different part of the country, do you want to get on a plane? Do you want to go to a city that you've never been to? And what's it going to be like when I get there? Is the convention center safe? So that's what we're hearing from some of our meeting planners, that their delegate count may be down. We had an event cancel last week for November saying we need 1,400 delegates, and right now we're seeing that we're going to get about 600. So it behooves it's better for us both to cancel and rebook it for next year, which, you know, we agreed with. As much as we hate to lose the business, we need them to be successful too.
So one thing I know that has happened since your tenure as CEO of Visit Sacramento is that we've had this explosion in new hotel space. So there are many more hotels than there used to be downtown. Talk to me about how important that is for Sacramento's infrastructure.
Absolutely, and you know, it's interesting. I think we have played a role in the sense that we've tried to create the demand for more hotel rooms. And you know, for a long time, Visit Sacramento's focus was just conventions, and now our focus is, of course, conventions. It's the largest driver of tourism in the region, but also music festivals, sporting events. We run the Sacramento Sports Commission. Farm to Fork has allowed us to attract different kinds of travelers to the market. So our hotels are growing, but I'll tell you this, Cristina, if you look at downtown Austin, they have 18,000 hotel rooms. Downtown Indy has about 12,000 hotel rooms. Downtown Sacramento still has under 3,000 downtown hotel rooms.
Okay.
So, you know, people will say to me, oh, you've got this new big convention center, you're going to book more conventions. Well, yeah, sort of, but we need more hotel rooms. And so part of the design of building a larger convention center is creating a demand for a new hotel, which I think is coming sooner than later.
So Mike, as we emerge from the pandemic, what are your priorities?
I think we have a couple priorities. There's that immediate help that we want to bring into the market. You know, we're doing a number of leisure campaigns that we started in June to attract people from the Bay Area. Come for the weekend, come take a break in Sacramento, come enjoy our restaurant scene. Things like the Farm to Fork Festival that are coming up in September. We've spent almost a little over 6 figures outside of the market to get people to come here. It's a 2-day festival. It's got a free concert schedule. We think it's appealing for people to come here. So that's the immediate help that we can give to the hotels and the restaurants, just bringing people from outside the market. Long term, it's certainly booking conventions. When I look at, you know, the convention calendar 2022 and beyond, it's robust. I mean, it's full. So I think that is something that people can say, at least down the road as we look towards next year, people are coming, things are going to be better. So you know, we book a lot of sporting events. We booked the World's Strongest Man competition this year. We'd never hosted that before. We've got our first Ironman in October. We signed a 3-year deal with them. So there's a lot of good things on the horizon. It's just, to your point, with the Delta variant and everything else, when are we going to get there? Because it's felt like, you know, 1 step up, 2 steps back for a while here.
So Mike, for people in Sacramento who live here, who maybe vacation somewhere else, talk to us about the value of tourism. Why is it important to get people to visit Sacramento?
Well, it's exactly what you just said. When we vacation other places, think about what you do, right? You get a hotel, you get a rental car, Uber, Lyft, whatever. You buy souvenirs, you buy all your meals out. Everybody who visits Sacramento does that exact same thing. And when they stay at hotels, they pay a transient occupancy tax. And when I look at the projects that have come out of that tax, the potential $50 million investment in the waterfront, the renovation of the Memorial Auditorium, the renovation of the Safe Credit Union Community Theater, parts of the Golden One Center, parts of the Powerhouse Science Center, all of those came out of hotel taxes. So the visitors are paying for these projects, not the locals. It's not a local tax imposed on residents. So the more visitors that we bring to the market, the more amenities are built for the people who live here.
I know one big event that's coming back in October, and I've been to it, and it's a blast. And I know that you have a secret place in your heart for it, is Aftershock.
Yeah, so Aftershock, we started that in 2012 with Danny Wimmer Presents. Danny and I met, and it started as a 1-day festival with about 12,000 people, and this year it's a 4-day festival with about 140,000 people, and Metallica headlining 2 of those nights. So When I look at tourism drivers, it is the largest driver that we have of anything, conventions or anything else. I mean, it's 30,000 hotel room nights that people come from. 65% of the attendees come from outside the Sacramento region. So those, we talked about pre-pandemic, we were in a conversation with Danny to bring a country festival here. And the idea would be to do a country festival one weekend, Aftershock the next weekend, and ultimately a third festival. And we'll get back to that. It's on hold. It's not done. But those are the types of things that change this market, right? If we're hosting fun events and we're hosting these huge music festivals on the scale of Coachella and Stagecoach and some of the other ones, the market becomes more appealing. That makes it easier for me to book conventions. It makes it easier for GSEC to attract businesses here. It makes it more attractive to people who want to move here. So again, it's trying to get us out of that government cowtown mentality that I think Sacramento's been unfortunately and wrongly saddled with for a long time. This is a cool market, and we're just trying to tell the world about it.
It is a cool market. So talk to me, as a CEO, what kind of leader are you? How do you inspire your staff to go out and get people to visit Sacramento?
Well, we talk about what our responsibility as an organization is and what we do, and I think the best way that we've inspired staff is to educate them on how much what they do every day matters to this community. You talk about the economics that we drive for the restaurants. I had a restaurateur tell me when the convention center went down for renovation that his business dropped by 40%. That tells you that, and that doesn't count sporting events or music festivals or leisure travelers. So that tells you that tourism is driving revenues to a lot of business owners and helping them to feed their families and keep the economy going. So, when I worked for that natural gas pipeline company, I didn't feel very passionate about it. I felt like I was just checking boxes and getting a paycheck and going home. But in this job, you can see the work that you do, and it matters. You can go out to Aftershock and see 40,000 people having a blast listening to Metallica. You can go to the Farm to Fork Festival and see a family with strollers walking through with smiles on their face and eating really good food. So it's a very gratifying job in the sense that you see the benefit of what you do, and I think the staff feels that. We don't have anybody on the team that doesn't get credit for the work that they do, and I think again, that level of responsibility that we feel has been some of the inspiration that we've tried to convey to them.
Mike Testa, Visit Sacramento, thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate you being on CEOs You Should Know.